Thank you all for being here today to celebrate the life of my sister, Rebecca, and to support the family. I'm her older brother, Ken. Some of what I will say, there's a little bit of overlap with what my father said, but this is how I've seen it through my eyes. Being Rebecca's big brother, I knew her from the beginning of her life. From the start, I knew her to be a generous person. When my parents brought her home from the hospital, they presented me with a small gift and told me it was from my baby sister. Obviously, the gift was from my parents, but it certainly foreshadowed the generosity Rebecca would show the world in so many ways. Even though I was just shy of 3 years old when I first met my baby sister, from that moment, there was a unique, unconditional bond between us. The bond we shared was reinforced by the large, loving family around us, consisting of great-grandparents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and of course our parents. We were very fortunate to have had those generational layers of love always around us, and you can still see it here today. She was an adorable little girl, and little did I know at the time that Rebecca would also create truly unique bonds with every life that she touched. I remember throughout our childhood we were close. We really enjoyed being silly together. We played games together. We ate way too much candy together. We loved playing outside. We rode bikes. We watched cartoons. And like most siblings, we made the dumbest jokes you could imagine. I remember laughing a lot with her. Sometimes we would sleep in each other's rooms in sleeping bags. I'm going to say something similar about the blanket here. My sister had a pink Afghan that our great-grandmother, whom everyone affectionately called Nana, crocheted for Rebecca when she was an infant. And when she was old enough to talk, she named the blanket Pinky. At bedtime, or when relaxing in front of the TV, she would softly rub a corner of the blanket against her nose, an action she called fuzzing, as my father said. We thought this was so cute and funny, and to our amazement, she kept the blanket her whole life and continued this habit, amazingly, through adulthood. Most importantly, I just remember we enjoyed spending time together. Back then, she usually addressed me as Kenneth, and I called her Rebecca, or Becca Boone, or sometimes simply Boonie, a nickname I believe my Aunt Camille coined and it stuck. As I became a little older, I could tell she genuinely respected me as her older brother, and I certainly adored her and was protective of my little sister. Rebecca had many friends growing up. She was actually a natural at making friends. Everybody instantly liked her because she was approachable, warm, kind, affable, open, and trusting. She even had an uncanny knack for connecting with animals. The pets we had over the years were naturally drawn to her, from Tuffy the cat, to Miss Muffin the rabbit, to her ducks, Gwendolyn and Penelope, and of course our beloved dog of 13 years, Dusty. I swear even the fish we had in an aquarium in the family room knew when she entered the room and would swim closer to the glass and to the surface. She would feed them and watch them for hours sometimes. I am convinced Rebecca was magnetic to all creatures of the world. When my mother started a small dancing studio out of the house to teach lessons, Rebecca and I both participated enthusiastically. It became apparent to me early on the true talent Rebecca had for the art of dance. She had rhythm, flexibility, grace, strength, and mastered the steps quickly. Before long, Rebecca was assisting my mother in teaching some of the classes. At some point around this time, I don't remember the exact chronology, she began learning gymnastics where she leveraged her dancing skills to learn difficult flips, cartwheels, somersaults and tumbles, and if memory serves, the balance beams. I was both impressed and proud of her. For family vacations, we would go to Cape Cod most years for about a week. We would always look forward to it. On sunny days, we would go to the beach to swim, catch some rays, build sandcastles, go snorkeling, play with small fish and crabs, and go for walks on the beach. On cloudy or partly days, we would go we would tour various towns around the Cape to go shopping or sightseeing, and on rainy days we would stay in and play games or sometimes go to the movies. Even before I could drive a car, I felt sorry for my parents for the number of times they had to drive up and down Route 6. In the evenings on the Cape, we looked forward to having dinner together as a family. Many nights we would go out to eat and then do a fun family activity together. At dinner, Rebecca was a much better eater than I was, with a precociously more sophisticated palate. She would order entrees like lobster tail or crab, lack of ram, side dishes like broccoli rabe, tomato salad or caprese, while a hamburger was about the extent of my palate. The after-dinner activity was either riding go-karts, jumping on trampolines, miniature golf, or going for ice cream. If we were there around July 4th, we'd go to the Barnstable County Fair to play games, ride in the bumper boats, or eat funnel cake. When we were of middle school age, there was another extraordinary talent that surfaced naturally for Rebecca. At both the public school and our Hebrew school, there were small groups of special needs children. Most kids do not know how to relate to special needs children or navigate the awkward behaviors and situations. Astonishingly, Rebecca had no trouble communicating with or helping these kids and genuinely enjoyed it. There was one girl I remember named Sharon who Rebecca befriended, and they remained friends from middle school through high school. The level of understanding, compassion, and patience she exhibited was truly remarkable and is something I did not fully appreciate until later in life. These traits carried over to her relationships with friends and family as well. For a few years, Rebecca was in the Brownies and then later the Girl Scouts. I thought it was more than a minute. I remember she made even more friends being a member of these groups. When she started high school, Rebecca continued to make friends and was introduced to classic rock and folk music from the 1960s and 70s. In particular, she was drawn to the Grateful Dead, Joni Mitchell, and Janis Joplin, and these became her favorite musical artists for the rest of her life. Her love of these performers from this era, along with the Deadhead culture, convinced me she had a soul that was meant to be born about 20 years earlier. As many of you know, the Grateful Dead was infused into Rebecca's magnetic personality. After high school, Rebecca matriculated at Central Arizona College and earned an Associate of Arts degree in psychology. I remember at the tail end of high school and during the summers in college, Rebecca got a job at a local gas station. The owner of the gas station began introducing Rebecca to cars and motorcycles. And I never asked her directly, but I believe this is where she caught the bug for the automotive arts, which became her next talent and passion in life. Rather than going down the long road of academics to become a psychologist, Rebecca decided to switch gears and make the plunge to go into the automotive industry. She applied and was accepted at the Lincoln Technical Institute in Mahwah, New Jersey. She went through the program and graduated at the top of her class to become an automotive technician. Before Rebecca graduated, she was scouted by BMW to enter their service technician education program known as S.T.E.P. Rebecca enthusiastically accepted the offer to attend and became the first woman to graduate as a BMW master technician. Rebecca then worked for BMW for a few years as a technician, and she later was promoted to service advisor when the management realized she was very good at interfacing between customers and the shop. This was of no surprise to me, knowing both her interpersonal and automotive skills. I thought this was a great role for her. After a while, the job at BMW was intense, and she decided she needed a temporary change of pace. Rebecca then went into the hospitality industry as a server and bartender. As you might imagine, Rebecca's friendly personality was a perfect fit for interfacing with customers. Once she worked at an excellent Italian restaurant called Rosa Luca's, where the staff loved her. During this time, I had a serious girlfriend in California whom I knew was the one. I told Rebecca I wanted to propose to her and then take a trip with her to share the news with the rest of the family. Rebecca suggested I propose at the restaurant she worked at and would give us a quiet table in the corner. I thought it was a fantastic idea. She so generously organized the dinner arrangements for me so I could propose to my girlfriend. I was so touched how she overextended herself to ensure we would have a special dinner. Immediately after proposing and Pauline accepting, we looked over at the window, and Rebecca watched through the window with tears rolling down her cheek and a cigarette in her hand. Shortly thereafter, Rebecca met Mike Hillman, and they brought two lovely children into the world, Elijah and Marley. They were Rebecca's top priority, and I watched her become a wonderfully loving and caring mother to them. When the kids were old enough, they became a member of the Jewish community at Temple Or Chadash. I was so happy when they did this, and I really enjoyed hearing about the activities they engaged in, and Rebecca joining the Sisterhood as well. When I met many members at Elijah's bar mitzvah, I could see it was a wonderful community, and they fit right in. When they were old enough, Rebecca went back to work in the automotive industry. I was again impressed when she became the parts and relations manager at Fred Bean's Toyota, and yet again when she became a shechanic at the Girls Auto Clinic as part of an elite team of female automotive technicians. Her last job as a teacher of automotive technology at the Union County Vocational Technical School, I felt, was the culmination of her career that combined all of her innate talents. Her automotive technician skills, her unbelievable patience and understanding with children, her generosity with time and knowledge, and her very personable demeanor. She was a perfect fit for that role. With everything Rebecca did, she pushed the envelope, she opened the throttle with her passion and abilities, and everyone loved being around her while she was doing it with humor, vigor, and enthusiasm. She was a warm, caring soul who touched so many lives, and she will be sorely missed. For me, most of all, I will miss just having my baby sister I grew up with during my childhood. She was the only person I could truly be silly with, even in adulthood. That unique bond is no longer real, it is only imaginary now. I will never forget how she enhanced my life, and I am so grateful to my parents and to God for giving me such a lovely little sister for these past 44 years. I will cherish the times we had for the rest of my days, and I will be sure to uphold her beliefs and ideals for myself and for her children. I miss you already terribly, Bruni.